welcome everybody. Welcome to another Super Sports Collection show. My name is Bruce Starr. I'm thrilled to be able to be here with you to present an incredible guy who I met in person 11, 12 years ago. We'll talk all about it on the show. But Walter Bond was, he's known for many things, but years ago, he's known for being a National Basketball Association player. He played for the Dallas Mavericks, the Utah Jazz, the Detroit Pistons, and then lots of different other places. Because why? Because he loved the sport so much. And even if he couldn't be playing in the National Basketball Association, he still was out there playing. I give him so much credit. So I want to introduce my guest, Walter Bond. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Bruce, thanks you, thank you, thank you. And it's amazing how you meet people and you run into each other, and 11 years later, here we are, right? And so that's just the power of life. And thank you for having me today.
Yeah, I've got to tell folks that we were both attending the Florida Speakers Association meeting. It had to be because I had just returned from being outside the country for 10 years. So it had to be something like 2012, 2013. And I been a speaker, a member of the National Speakers Association, really into it in the 80s. In 86, I went to their national conventions. In 87. It was a phenomenal time for me. I was a member also of the Manhattan Speakers Association. I got to meet a lot of interesting people there too. But I stepped into this room and there was this big guy behind me. And, I've been around sports my whole life, and I can recognize a professional player almost from like a mile away. And this guy had to have been a professional player. So I turned around, we started talking, and he introduced himself. Walter, yeah, I was a professional basketball player, but that's not where he's really known now for. But let me bring him back in. Walter, tell me about those years playing basketball. You played for 3 teams. Uh, Tell me about those years.
Well, before I even got to the NBA, I had an incredible journey of becoming, right? And a lot of times people don't understand the journey to becoming a pro athlete. Obviously it didn't start, the day I played for the Mavericks my rookie year. It started when I was 9 years old, just dreaming in the backyard, dreaming at the park. And it was just me and my brother playing a lot of one-on-one in the backyard. And he's 2 years older than me, but we were the same size for a long time. And, we had battles, just you had a teammate right in your heart, in your house. You had a competitor right in your house. And it's nothing like having a brother pretty much the same age. And so every day you could go out and compete. Then eventually I got a little bit bigger than him. And the rest is history. But it started, way back at 9 years old. And it took me 15 years to become an NBA ball player. And so a lot of times people just think you're born to play pro sports. Talent plays a huge part in it. But, to make it to the NBA, there's a lot of guys good enough, but not everyone makes it because sometimes you just work ethic, little luck, a lot of things just kind of fall in the line. But I mean, we're talking about a 15-year journey, and I didn't even start on my college basketball team. So even my college career was challenging, and I had to find a niche. I had to learn how to come off the bench to help my team win. That was a big message from my dad. Was like, look, man, make your team win. That was his overarching message. Don't worry about your minutes. Don't worry about your playing time. Don't worry about your role. Just make your team win. And I carved out a niche in college. They considered me the top 6 man in the country for a couple of years, and it
Wow.
led me to an 8-year professional basketball career.
So, what was it for you that you wanted to play? And like you said, you maybe didn't have all the natural skills that the typical player has. What was it? I mean, I know, listen, you have to be a good shooter. You have to be able to jump pretty high, maybe block some shots and block some passes. What did you have?
Probably IQ. I understood the game. And a lot of times people get caught up in jumping and shooting and passing, and that's important. But we can't forget it's a game, right? No different than poker or chess or Connect Four or spades, whatever your game is, So basketball is a game. And I think my IQ toward the game helped overcome some of my limitations. I'm only 6'5", average athlete at best, but I learned how to play the game. And since I knew how to play the game, I helped my team win, because, there's an art to knowing, when to pass the ball and who to pass the ball to. I had a teammate in college named Willie Burton, who was a lottery pick, and he could score as well as anybody I've ever played with.
Miami
But
Heat, right?
he played for the Heat. He was a lottery pick for the Heat, but he wasn't the best decision maker. And so we had a deal. And I told him, Willie, when I pass you the ball, go score. Because there's no other reason for me to pass you the ball. You'll probably turn it over. We would talk like that. Like, look, when I pass you the ball, go get the bucket. And he was like, all right, cool. And so we kind of built that kind of chemistry. And, when you play basketball, you have to understand your teammates. So I had teammates who could really rebound. And I understood that. I had teammates who could really run the floor. And so you learn how to respect their talent and their ability, always keeping them in the right place so that they look good, and never trying to put your teammate in a position where they didn't look good based on their ability. So to me, that's into playing the game, and understanding how to play the game and being a good teammate. So probably, Bruce, my biggest attribute, I got skill. Now, I could dribble, I could shoot, I can do all the fundamentals. Average athlete required me to have a high basketball IQ.
So a lot of the guys that I have on the show tell me about their coaches, how much of a difference their coaches made. Tell me about your coaches. You could start at high school or you can go up to college and the pros.
Bruce, anyone that's heard me speak live in a keynote, that's almost all I talk about are the people who impacted me through coaching. And when I talk to my corporate executives, I'm like, if you're not thinking like a coach, you're really doing some serious damage to your legacy. And I'm thankful that I got a chance to play professional sports until I was 30. And I played for Jerry Sloan, one of the icons of the NBA. I played for a guy named Clem Haskins, one of the best college coaches. I had 7 teammates during my 4 years at Minnesota playing NBA. He
Wow.
coached the Olympics. I mean, he was just a very good coach, evaluator of talent, and he had great player development. But my high school coach, for example, is a guy named Donald Russell, who's Cassie Russell's brother, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
honestly, Bruce, for the most part, my whole career, I had incredible coaches. I played for Mike Davis, who took over for Bobby Knight at Indiana, right? And so
Wow.
even some of the assistant coaches I had through the years, John Treloar, Mike Davis, Don Chaney. We had an assistant coach at Minnesota named Al Brown. Al Brown left Minnesota and went to coach at Tennessee with Pat Summitt and helped Pat Summitt win championships,
Wow.
at the University of Tennessee in women's basketball. He was phenomenal as an assistant coach on Coach Haskins' staff. So honestly, I could talk all day, and I do, about coaching because they helped me become. And, to me, that's the one thing I learned about my journey to the NBA and becoming elite in sport. I tell anyone that will listen to me and all of my corporate clients, it's impossible to reach your potential without a coach. And I'll give you a couple of examples, and I did share this in front of Dave's Hot Chicken. I was their keynote speaker a couple of days ago in LA. For example, you can look at Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. These are 2 of the best athletes the world has ever seen in their sport. Arguably, Michael Jordan is the best ever. Tiger Woods, I mean, there was a season where he was the best ever. It looked like he was about to obliterate every golf record there was, and his father died. And Tiger Woods, to me, has never recovered from losing his dad, right? And so
Wow.
that
I didn't
that
realize.
advisor, that coach, that support
Wow.
network, I don't care how good you are, I don't care how talented you are, you got to have a support system. Michael Jordan lost his dad and he goes and plays baseball. And I told people, man, he's mourning. People are like, well,
Wow.
baseball, that makes no sense. I'm like, no, man, something is going on with Michael Jordan I bet you his dad loved baseball. I mean, there was some connection to his dad in baseball. I was named after my uncle who played Major League Baseball. So baseball was my first love. And so when he went to play baseball, everyone was, shocked by it. And I knew, man, there's something going on with his dad and baseball. And later on, he admitted that his dad loved baseball. He always told him he should play baseball. And that's the greatest athlete ever, the most mentally tough athlete we've ever seen. Lost his father, and a part of his mourning process was going to play baseball. So the moral of the story is I don't care who you are, I don't care how mentally tough you are, I don't care how talented you are. We all need support, we all need coaching, and the role of a father, man, is priceless.
Imagine being able to train your mind with the same precision you train your body. The Awaken Mind headset offers personalized audio programs that can help enhance your concentration, reduce stress, and optimize recovery times. It's like having a personal mental coach available anytime you need to dial in your focus or unwind after an intense session. I believe that this tool can be a valuable addition to your training arsenal, giving you the mental sharpness and relaxation needed for those critical moments when games are won or lost. If you're interested in learning more about how this headset can be integrated into your routine for peak performance, contact me at the number below. I'd like to share more about how this technology can support your journey to the top. Wishing you continued success and looking forward to the possibility of contributing to your legacy as a professional athlete. You bring that up, Walter, and thank you for bringing that up because as a teacher, I've taught, and I'm not a full-bred, full-time teacher, but I've taught in private schools and I'm substitute teaching in the Palm Beach County school system now. And the one thing that drives me to school every day, to work every day, is looking at those kids and realizing that many of them come from one parent families. And many of them are lacking good, positive, masculine male roles in that family of theirs. And so I consider myself a positive male influence, a masculine male influence in someone's life. So I'm always holding myself to the highest ability that I can because I have to be that way for the kids. And so I know how important coaching is. I've been a little league coach. I mean, I've done coaching, and I'll tell you, I really love coaching. And I think that's what attracted me to the National Speakers Association because, and I know that's what attracted you because I hear you saying how important coaching is. And speaking, being a professional speaker, what you just said a couple of minutes ago, without that coach, without that consultant, you can only get so far. And so now I know why you were right there next to me in that room because you wanted to become the best speaker possible so that you can go on and be the best coach possible.
I mean, well said, Bruce. And that's just how I think. That's just how I understand life. That if you want to be the best in the world at what you do, the first thing you do is get a coach. And think about our greatest movies, right? And the answers are right in front of us. Karate Kid. Karate Kid had Mr. Miyagi. I mean, Rocky had Mickey. Every great movie that's historical, there was always a mentor involved in the star's development.
Great
And that's more
example.
than just the movie. That is life. That is absolute the epitome of life. And for anyone listening today, I mean, if you're a coach, I mean, act like it. And I was just with Dave's Hot Chicken, and ironically, a father called, grabbed me after my keynote, and he was like, "Man, my son plays high school football, and his coach is always yelling, he's cursing him out. The kids hate playing, and what should I do?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know what you can do, but that sounds like an issue for the high school principal. And, if these kids aren't having the right experience, I said, well, is the team winning? Like, no. I said, well, the coach is being selfish. He probably has ambition. He wants to get a better job and get promoted, and his team's not winning, and he's frustrated, and he's taking it out on the kids. And so, at those youth ages, the most important thing a coach can provide are fundamental training and really teaching these men and women how to be great men and great women. And if they're good enough to play Division I sports, it'll be obvious. It'll be obvious. I mean, I was one of the best players in the state of Illinois in baseball and basketball, just naturally. And I had to work, obviously, once I got beyond high school, but just naturally, with very little work, just natural ability. I was one of the best basketball players in the state, one of the best baseball players in the state. And then in college, I had to learn how to work, right? But in the youth era, you know, the talent level is obvious at that age. And so if I'm a coach coaching a bunch of marginal athletes, the most important thing I can do is make them better citizens. And teach them character, teach them work ethic and teamwork, and that alone to help my team win. But your motive can't be to win games only. I'm talking youth sports. And your motive can't be only because I want to get a good record so I can get promoted. I mean, these are going to become future fathers and husbands and moms and dads. And let's make this world a better place. It sounds hokey. It sounds corny. But to me, that's what youth sports used to be. I remember getting in trouble growing up if you lost the game being a bad sport. You lost, you go over and shake the other team's hands and you hold your head up, and so that was a part of character development. Nowadays, you go to a youth sporting event, parents are cursing out the refs and fighting in the parking lots, and we just lost all integrity as it comes to what youth sports really should be. And, if anyone will listen to me, let's go old school and create good kids. And the only way we can create good kids if mom and dad is acting right at the ball game as well. And we know that in many cases, they're in the gym acting hostile, right in front of their own children, giving them permission themselves to act, you know, beating up refs. And I mean, I've seen crazy, like absolute parents get so caught up and off track, just completely lose it. And I think we need to stop that and get back to what sports should really be.
Absolutely. You brought up uh, great coaching and how important that is, but you didn't just say to win games on the youth level. I was lucky enough when I lived out in LA. I don't remember what year it was, but I actually got a chance to meet John Wooden.
Oh my goodness.
And John was the winningest coach, probably in history, I think. And at UCLA, how about being a perennial national champion year after year after year after year? And when I saw him, of course, he was probably months or a year away from passing. Uh, but the things that the people were saying about him and the things that he was saying is it's about making the adult. It's about making sure that that player is more than just a good shooter, but a good man. And that's why the UCLA program was so successful for so many years. People would swear by John that he wasn't just the most winning coach, but there was nobody better as far as growing men. And I remember I bought his book, and his book is phenomenal. It was almost like I found myself underlining, half the things that he said. So that's the foundation of being a professional speaker,
I agree.
being that coach. And imagine companies realizing they can't do it all themselves, even if they have to bring in an outside advisor, an outside consultant. And that's where professional speakers come in. I'd love to hear more about the earlier stages for you when you said to yourself, I'm not playing basketball anymore, but I sure would love to find out more about speaking professionally?
Well, it goes back to my coach. I played for Clem Haskins, and at the University of Minnesota, outside of my dad, there's never been a bigger man to impact my life. I mean, he's the one that helped me become an NBA ball player by really having amazing player development. But when I was leaving the University of Minnesota, he grabbed me and took me to the side, and he was like, "Son, you should be thinking about being a motivational speaker." And Bruce, I'm 22 years old, totally focused on trying to be an NBA ball player. And I was like, what? Like professional speaker? I was like, I didn't even know what that was. And I played for 8 years. And then I broadcasted 2 years for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I did not like broadcasting. It was okay, but I didn't see that as my career path. And I remember what Coach Haskins said. And my wife was doing she was a pharmaceutical drug rep in Minneapolis. We had 3 kids, and she didn't like her job. And I was like, hey, why don't we start a motivational speaking business? She was like, oh, wow, I've heard you talk about that. And she was like, okay. And she grew up listening to Les Brown. My wife's from
Oh,
Miami, Les Brown's from Miami, and she knew about Les Brown. And luckily, she was like, and her parents are entrepreneurs. And she was like, okay, I'm in. And we launched 23 years ago.
wow. I
And
didn't know this.
no, and so that was
I didn't know this, Walter.
yeah. So my whole life has been impacted by coaches. And as soon as I joined NSA, I got mentors. A guy named Desi Williamson, Willie Jolly, a guy named Keith Harrell, and I was Karate Kid, and they were my Mr. Miyagi.
That's the way to
And
do it.
they taught me everything, and we slowly began to execute. And we got really dialed into the National Speakers Association, and now we hire 2 of our kids that work for us, and it's a great story with a happy ending.
So, uh, are you're a speakers bureau also?
Well, not really. We're not a
Okay.
speakers bureau, but we have been booking athletes recently. We had a client call us and say, "Hey, do you know any athletes?" And we have these speaking opportunities on cruises, and we coach a lot of speakers. And so we were like, "Yeah, we can help, right?" So we started. We just sent 2 NFL players on cruises, Russell Maryland and Howard Griffith, and we just booked a couple of basketball guys, and it's amazing. So it's a growing business unit for us, and it's just something that just happened naturally because we've been in the business for 23 years, and we coach athletes. We coach anybody who wants to be a speaker, but naturally, we attract a lot of former athletes, and so we're not a bureau per se, but we are running a couple of people's office for them, and that's growing. And we're also booking speakers as well.
So, what would you say would be the most important aspect about being a speaker? And because I know, listen, I didn't stay with it. I couldn't figure out, I couldn't be, I couldn't play the role that a lot of those guys that I saw at the National Speakers Association. I just didn't see myself being that. And maybe to a fault, I didn't see myself. But what what is the difference between someone who gets a speaking role or gets a speaking job and a national speaker who really makes it a career?
That's a great question. And again, we coach a lot of speakers. Most people look at it as a hobby, just something that they have fun doing, and we'll do it sometimes. No different than basketball. A lot of guys love basketball, and they go to the park and they go to the Y, and it's a hobby. For me, basketball became a career. It became a job, and speaking no different. It's not a hobby for me. We do it as a business, and so we don't see it just as I'm a speaker. We're really transforming people and organizations, and so we're all about explosive growth and industry dominance. And the keynote really is just a commercial. So a lot of our clients want more. So they want me to come in and our team to touch and curate all the concepts I share on stage into their culture, right? So, for example, we believe that every leader should be a coach. I mean, and we say it point blank, you need to drop your machete and pick up a whistle. and to me, that's the difference. A lot of leaders are critical and negative, and he doesn't get it, and she doesn't get it, and he's an idiot, and they're trying to recruit stars who show up ready to go. And that's just not how sports works. You draft a rookie in the NFL, you got to get him up to speed. You recruit a kid out of high school, you got to redshirt him. And so companies got to think that way. Like, you know what? I got a kid with some talent. I just recruited out of Harvard, but I got to put him into our training camp and get him ready. Right? I got to onboard him right. I got to train him right. I got to support him right. Most companies we work with don't even have a training and development department. And I'm like, man, the most valuable asset you have are your people. It's called human capital. And if you're not helping your people grow and develop, you should have a corporate weight room. If that makes any sense to anybody. I mean, you should have a corporate weight room where these corporate athletes can go and learn how to communicate better. We always talk about the it factor. Oh, he has the it factor. Man, you can teach people the it factor, right? Just put them in the weight room. We teach people how to communicate. We teach organizations how to have audacious goals and how to communicate them throughout the organization. We teach companies how to build an all-in culture. I mean, we teach how to build accountability. And all the leaders we know want this, but they don't know how to curate it, right? And so our company makes a living really helping to fortify and strengthen organizations into a championship type of organization. We always go into winning and losing, and the truth is there are winners and losers, but there's also a champ too. And so while you focus on winning and losing, we're over here building champions. And we have a track record of transforming our clients from winners into champions just by teaching pure, simple business fundamentals. I had basketball fundamentals that allowed me through mastery to play in the NBA. Don't leave me open because this jump shot is falling. I've shot a million of them. Don't leave me open. I'm a pro. You know what I mean? And I think the same thing is true in business. I'm an executive and I know how to communicate. Why? I'm a pro. I'm an executive. I know how to lead. Why? I'm a pro. I know how to build confidence. I know how to inspire. I know I have great soft skills. Why? Because I'm a pro. So, and to me, executives aren't thinking that way. And it's fun to get our hands on organizations and help them transform. And it doesn't really take a whole lot. It doesn't even really take a long time. All we need is a company committed to saying, we want to be champs. And can you help us? And then we do the rest.
Walter, you made me think about something that I hadn't thought about in a while. Because when I said to you, I don't know why I didn't go further with the National Speakers Association or becoming a speaker, I thought about why. And you helped me look at something, Walter, and I really appreciate it. One of the things that they would ask me at the conventions was, what do you have? I didn't know what I wanted to speak about. That. What do you have a passion for? And I'd say relationships. I'd say having people get along, having people be productive, both at an office, but just as important at home with their wife and their kids. And that was really important for me. But I didn't fit that mold of a lot of the guys that were speaking because they could go to corporations and talk about motivation. I was a guy that was really interested in teaching people how to get along better and to make more powerful teams from being more productive. And I'm going to ask you a personal question here because I don't ever do that with a guest. Is there a role out there for somebody like me who's really calls himself a relationship coach? Is there a role out there for somebody like me? Because I'm at the age now, I can go in any direction right now. I have a passion for speaking about relationships. I've been helping people for years and years. I've written books, published books. Is there a space out there for somebody like me in the relationship world to go out there in corporate?
Bruce, look at the world around us, man. I mean, honestly, especially America. We're failing at our relationships. If you look at politics, Congress, the House, Democrats, Republicans, we're failing in relationships. I don't have to agree with you to respect you. We live in a world right now where if you don't agree with me, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I don't know if I've ever met a person where we agree on 100% of everything. To expect you to meet someone and to have the same opinion on everything is ridiculous. Some people love cold weather, some people love it hot. Some people love, to focus on money. Some people love to focus on charity, right? Some people love to focus on food. Other people hate food. And I just eat enough to survive. That don't mean something wrong with you. That don't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean we just disagree on a couple different things. You like sports, I don't. What does that have to do with us getting along, right? And my parents taught me, man, you can disagree without being disrespectful. And I think that relationship opportunity is a huge opportunity, Bruce. This world needs you. We need you in politics. We need you in religion. We need you in sports. We're failing at relationships. Marriage, are you kidding me? I've been married 30 years, right? And we have our moments, and it's not like it's perfect over here. But even marriage is like, people don't even think marriage works anymore. So to answer your question, failed relationships are everywhere in companies, organizations, families need desperately to build better relationships and strengthen the ones we have. And with these phones nowadays, kids aren't even able to develop soft skills. If you go into a college or a high school, everyone's on their phone. And they'll look at a kid at the same high school like, oh, I don't know him. He's not my friend. And like, well, you can go become a friend, can't you? Like, put your phone down. Now, if you talk to him for 10 minutes, you realize that you guys can be friends. But it's just the world we live in. We're becoming disconnected. And to be quite frankly, it scares me. It's really troubling how disconnected this world has become for a million different reasons. And so to answer your question, hell yes.
Maybe
There's
we'll have a
extreme opportunity.
conversation in the next
Yes,
week or so. We can talk maybe a little bit more about it if that's okay with you.
absolutely.
So, Walter, one last thing. The way I'm doing it at the schools is I'm 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 getting cards from different people, thousands, tens of thousands of sports cards, and I'm giving them away to kids. And just today, I gave away a whole box of cards, and the kids during break time were in the corners, and they were negotiating and looking up and seeing what the value of the cards were and trading. That's exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted. And so, do you have a collection? Do you have some things that you've collected over the years that you've held on to?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously I have my own basketball cards and a lot of people send them to me and I sign them and I send them back. But I don't know if you know this. I was named after my uncle who played Major League Baseball. It's my dad's brother. His name was Walt Bond. He was 6'7", and he died of leukemia playing Major League Baseball. And he was only 29 years old. And
Ah,
so I was born maybe a year and a half later. So my dad named me after his brother. And people say we look alike, say we act alike, have the same personality. And, so I'm the namesake of a Major League Baseball player. So I'm always looking for his jersey. I'm always looking for his bats. I've bidded on some of his sports memorabilia. And he was good. One year he hit 21 home runs with the Cleveland Indians. And
wow.
so it wasn't like he was a marginal player. I mean, he was a 6'7" home run hitting giant who got stricken by leukemia. And
Wow.
so when I played college ball, because he's a former Minnesota Twin, people would bring me his baseball card. So I collect his card, and it's special for me because obviously I never met him. And Harmon Killebrew,
Oh,
we met at a restaurant, and the maitre d' knew what he was doing. He knew my uncle and he knew me. He just goes, Harmon Killebrew, I want you to meet Walt Bond. And Herman looks at me because I'm built like my uncle. I look like my uncle. And it was like he had seen a ghost. And he just looked at me and looked at me. And I said, oh, you're thinking about my uncle. And he says, I'll be right back. And he was hosting a dinner with like 30 people. He left that dinner and sat down and talked to me for 30 minutes. And he was like, man, your uncle was the nicest guy. I never had a teammate die. and kind of like what happened? Like he had leukemia. He hid it from everybody, because he didn't want people to know he was sick. He had leukemia and he didn't know. And unfortunately, Harmon Killebrew passed about a year from that conversation.
Oh,
Right? Yeah. And so, um, but baseball used to be America's game, America's pastime. We've kind of gotten away from baseball. But when I grew up, man, baseball was my first
everything,
love. So,
everything.
so, so I collect anything with my uncle Walt Bond's name on it.
That's fantastic. I think I've come across a couple of your cards. If I can, I'll send it along to you so I can show everybody in later shows that you can get cards signed, and the players will sign cards. And so,
Yeah,
Walter,
absolutely. I do it all the time. I do it all the time.
you've been great. I couldn't ask
Thank you,
for
Bruce.
a better show with a better guy. I'm honored that you remembered me, and that you accepted my invitation. I really, really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime. I love lifting up the human spirit. The speaking business has been so good to me. I'm in a position to be able to be a blessing to others and to give. And hopefully just one thing I said today lifts someone's spirit and encourages somebody. I stumbled into my purpose. For a long time, I thought my purpose was to play basketball or baseball. I was a pretty good football player. But now I understand my purpose is really to lift the human spirit, whether it's individuals or organizations. And I'm just thankful that sports led me to my purpose.
Also, there's so many who don't transition well at all out of sports. You and I could do a whole show about, you know, the masses not doing well after sports. And it's just fantastic to hear how you've done so well uh, after being in such an exciting, uh, entertaining world, that you can match that in what you're doing now. So, Walter, congratulations.
Thank you. And in my house, my parents were teachers, right? And so sports was put in its proper context. It wasn't bigger than anything else. Academics was one, sports was number two. And all my family were athletes. My dad's in the Hall of Fame at his college, but he was a high school principal, right? So I'm just thankful to my coaching. I was taught to get good grades, go to school, and play sports as long as you can. But when sports is over, rely on your education. That's how I was raised, and it's worked out perfectly. And even if you're good in sports, you still need to be educated. And the kind of money that athletes are getting paid today, you better be smart. You better understand finance. You better understand economics. You better understand investments, or if not, you're not going to keep the money you make anyway. So you're trusting people to manage all your money. Like, come on, there's too many snakes out here for an athlete to become as smart as they are, to allow themselves to become so vulnerable because they're too lazy to understand what a stock market is, are too lazy to even research what a mutual fund is, or just gonna sit here and roll the dice with millions of dollars and give total control to a total stranger with no oversight and no accountability. I mean, that's dangerous for today's world. So it's no excuse for an athlete with the internet and the way we can get information, artificial intelligence. There's no more room for the dumb athlete. It's just no more room for the dumb athlete. It's nothing. There's just no place in this world for your life to end well. The dumb athlete just can't exist anymore.
And hear your message, because I know the kids are starting to pick up that I'm a podcaster, and they're starting to watch my shows. And that message, that don't fool with your education. You want to be a football player? Fantastic. You want to be a basketball player? You want to be a baseball player? You'd better get an education. Don't pass on your education. Think you're going to fly by being at so many of these kids today. I see them. I see their headspace. They're not paying attention to their education. And that's a huge mistake, right, Walter?
Well, it goes back to what mom and dad is saying. And it goes back to what I said earlier. Some moms and dads are so caught up in the sport that they've lost their balance. And I'm saying it, 12, 13, where parents have completely lost it and forgot that they're mom and dad. They forgot that, the balance of the family and the hierarchy and like, come on. So we're raising, athletes who just aren't prepared. It's just not solid citizens because it was all about the jump shot and the money and the AAU and getting drafted. But talent will get you to the NBA. Character will keep you in the NBA. I love to say that one more time. Talent can get you to the NBA, but character is what's going to sustain you in the NBA. We got guys, and especially with this one and done, when their career's over at 22, 23, and the rest of their lives, they're not prepared. Talent will get you to the pro level, but only character will keep you and sustain.
Imagine being able to train your mind with the same precision you train your body. The Awaken Mind headset offers personalized audio programs that can help enhance your concentration, reduce stress, and optimize recovery times. It's like having a personal mental coach available anytime you need to dial in your focus or unwind after an intense session. I believe that this tool can be a valuable addition to your training arsenal, giving you the mental sharpness and relaxation needed for those critical moments when games are won or lost. If you're interested in learning more about how this headset can be integrated into your routine for peak performance, contact me at the number below. I'd like to share more about how this technology can support your journey to the top. Wishing you continued success and looking forward to the possibility of contributing to your legacy as a professional athlete. Wow, what great messages. I've learned a lot, and I'm so glad we reconnected because I knew there was something special about you 10, 11, 12 years ago. I just had no idea how I was going to connect with you and about what, but this was the perfect opportunity. And I'm so glad again that you accepted my invitation. And who knows, maybe something even greater can come out of this show. So God bless Walter Bond. Uh, Talk about a great citizen. There you are, you're looking at one. And thanks for coming on the show.
Bruce, thank you. Anytime. Enjoy your weekend and keep doing your show, man. And let me tell you something, man. Keep building those relationships and helping people with those relationships because it sounds like it's your purpose.
Thank you, sir. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you. See you soon.
Take care, everybody. Another great show. We'll see you again. Bye bye, everybody.